Hello, species value nature system. Want you to understand about the Boston accent. For example, before Boston was allowed the attempt to become a country, still as one of the modern country's natives, still enslaved, as to be a country to become strong enough to be able to demonstrate that with free speech. We didn't have free speech. That's why we had black, not because of prejudice, because we didn't have free speech, interbranch, intercampuses. I want you to see the Boston accent is tied to this, because it wasn't just England that was in control of Boston, New York, Hartford, Connecticut, right between New York and Boston, right where George Washington had to come right before the last battle of the Revolutionary War and counter-extort them. Many nations, as native criminal justice intercampuses, interages of fact-cheating nature in a trap. All parents in a trap. All fact-cheating nature in a trap. So they're obfuscating our education where it is the best in other ways, specifically for fact-cheating nature racket, because it's not really the best. Our species, any species is only value as a volume. Individual, groups / sexes, and species volume at once. As three semi-natures, only positive when they're realized as their complete nature. And so, English was revealed by ancients before the criminal re-engineering of the Campus Martius, of internation sciences that revealed this as a species valuing individual, group / sexes, and species bonds volume at once, with its relationship to itself, which is a greater complete identity, Allah, and this is the Trinity. And that's only correct. Allah is only value as a tool to see when we're right or wrong about it as positive or negative value nature. The modern religions share counters to what they knew already had fact-cheating nature, human fact-cheating nature value progressively, because every value has inseparable from it, and as a complete identity, every complete identity of value is simultaneously an unceasing semi-nature relationship to perfect value progression as nature, where and how we're only part of it, and as temporary / lasting. See, that lasting nature of relationship is inseparable from us the whole time. The complete nature of relationship to itself, which is what causes positive or negative value nature progressions. See, we have criminal insidiousness nature, positive, where and how fake sides were built then to stay perpetual, of fact-cheating nature too. So every time they say, in prisons they don't like rats, or they don't like child offenders, these prison leaderships and the overt criminal enterprises and the sick federal criminals are recorded in collusion with crime acts with areas before they're in cases. Illusions that are recorded consciously making the wrong outcomes. Predicate acts like Trade Center attack themed mail crimes with a Whtey family, with a Lombardo family, with a Scalora family, with identity thefts, with federal crime. Predicate acts with mail crime rolls with this Whtey family. Crime acts rolls with Trade Center attack context for their predicate acts, tied to the groups interstate, from Connecticut intercampuses, interbranch drug cliques, and their family members through time. Various natures of courts, using the other courts to hide their life progressions, affected needed by them per intercampus, especially criminal justice, training of these prison cliques. Each age of fact-cheating nature is in a trap, from off-campuses maintained and on-off campuses. So, also, we have all kinds of FBI, CIA, interbranch police with offensive evidence perception crimes. See how Black is an offensive evidence perception crime role, a breaching method crime role that was left by our founders to have demonstrated. They didn't want us to pretend that to hold them as criminal and seriousness nature of positive treatments of the Constitution. They wanted us to demonstrate they didn't have free speech. They stuck that theater up until we could make it real. How? By valuing the surface of the Constitution. They don't have that. That's where religion is supposed to be defended. They have religion pretended insensibilities, victim predators of a child abuse method, branches, of intercampuses, states and areas, pretending they care about religion and the Constitution by forcing it juxtaposed. We're not supposed to have states and areas juxtaposed with religion, saying what it is. See, then they're saying people who say that it's other are nuts because they're keeping nuts treatments of interreligious. They're keeping it from the ability, from having its conversation what it's about, like our American history, which is about an organized crime method that was entrenched here. Method. Our method that was using human fact treatment nature, incapable of defending its fact treatment nature formal, and us from what was criminal was keeping and is keeping the states and areas of and as each modern nation criminally foreign influenced. The entire species is in an identity of negative value nature progression. Acts and natures, acts like predicate acts. Natures like criminal insidiousness nature. So fake news crime acts attach me to fake conversations with them. Attach my family to fake conversations with them. The recorded and confessed federal crime acts roles, illusions, identity theft crime roles, database illusion stacking crime roles, evidence crime roles, mail crime roles, those kind of illusion crime roles, with child sex offender principle, tied to crimes with the witness protection program, tied to houses in my neighbor, a bunch of houses in my area, facilitated as victim reactions to investigators and as police force, as F.B.I. associated with that, witness protection, other natures of F.B.I. and of CIA and of military families mixed with foreign military crime acts and families criminally involved with them, like with psychology too. Database illusion stacking, intercampuses, a crime method with sensibilities where they were sustaining this on anybody who's not already within their branch, private tied to that family's needing to hide the same finite active body of value and progressive lives together, which are in demonstration of identity nature needs, because that's what our complete nature is. Everything is in demonstration of this Trinity. That's why we have the cell nucleus, the cell body, and the cell wall, and why each cell wall shares this. The semi-nature of physical, that's one temporary, simultaneous nature. And as a simultaneous nature with this invisible one coming through, which is more volumized value in relationship to its identity, Allah, a science term, which is positive or negative, which is the Trinity. Jesus Christ is about the Trinity, not about himself alone. The beginning of the Quran is about valuing non-believers and believers to counter together more than believers who are wrong. That's why the first part of the Quran puts the obligations for someone to debate with the standing acceptations of the Quran before any of the controversial parts of the Quran. It's talking about liars or criminal and seditious natures, saying they're going to do one thing in relationship to international trade, not just in relationship to international trade. That value nature system for sick, other than reality's value nature system, as one to exploit the fact treatment nature of it. So we are value as fact treatment nature. So they cause. They don't know where the accident came from, because we left intercampuses of various natures with crime methods fluent through them. that are used to keep each age of fact, human nature, roles, valuing, needing, the obfuscation of correlation nature, understanding how it is a trinity. It is inherent, active, and is progressive. It is finite, grouped, and all together, at once, as nature, as value. As a value nature, relationship to value's complete identity, which is the perfect value progression. So the New York game is no joke. That and how, so we don't want to, we don't want to make fun of Boston. You know, we don't want to have them have that. That's what they need. They need to make fights between people, and they pretend that courts had the integrity originally, and still, and/or interbranch had the integrity to solve things. They don't, because they're needing to hide lie progressions. They're needing to hide their actually recorded natures. And so they're doing this by faking recorded things, forging names, switching sequences, preventing correlation nature, free speech, by identity theft roles. There's a Fred Gruse and there's a Mazzucato, who was married to the daughter of the Wethersfield police chief. I never met her. And I barely know him. I only know him who recorded, confessed, involved with crimes. I've never seen him with a houses in my area. They pretended. I know people like that are a Phil Calora and a Subby Scalora that are the extended relatives of a house in my area. And these are people associated further with crimes with a principal sex offenders campus and with the policing of the campus. 2 Mendez police. These are also people involved with crimes with DACA, inter-sciences cliques, inter-campuses through time. Also, I never had a conversation with, I never saw in my area his sister. I don't know if it's really his sister. There's an Old Town Cafe, and there's a Charlie Bowes, who was recorded and confessed with a whole bunch of people at Trinity College, involved with crimes with the FBI, and all kinds of other police forms and pilots and cliques like that were used for offensive evidence federal crimes. So now they have influence to it by their roles with drug cliques, untimely deaths, child sex offenders, interbranch, intercampuses, campuses. We have on-off campuses training of police forms to be like plain clothes. Standing spots they use. Like there's a Dakota and a Rocky Hill. Recorded, confessed, involved with foreign and domestic nurses and their family members and doctors involved with the drug crimes. And see, I'm not a police force, I'm not a criminal. These are identity thefts. These are people needing to have fights. They had confessions about this. There's child sex offenders here. See, when someone says reports a child sex crime act, you respond to the act. They're using a method where they're pretending they don't understand people and that people don't speak clearly. I'm an expert on the nature of English grammar. You see, the predicate of English is simultaneously, inherently, actively, and progressively is positive relationship to itself. As identity natures, identity of relationship to itself, no matter if it's in a man, a woman, or in the babies to come, or each age of fact cheating nature in a trap. These are not means. It's a tactically denatured relationship to nature. So we can't afford what correlation can demonstrate was never free in people stacking and means to afford out of that from a tactically denatured relationship to nature, criminally exploited. So CT is cherry tree. Now, even if George Washington didn't make this up, he wanted it, especially if he didn't make it up. He needed us to, as so did James Madison, our founding father, to demonstrate that we didn't have free speech. In other words, to demonstrate why he had to leave slavery in Hartford, Connecticut, right between New York, but we'll leave it in New York and Boston, right before the last battle of the Revolutionary War. The North still was part of what had a whole bunch of nations, rolls with crazy things like that then, because they knew as they came out of it, it's what they locked already on the other suit and tie nations and counters to it, valuing fact, treatment, nature, database relationships, criminally foreign influenced. As standing criminal insidious natures is the only natures of sophistication let realized, not by accident. So we're going to do the Hartford game, the Burroughs book. We're going to be a species game. Oh, look! We're going to stop our hands and clap. We're going to clap our hands, stomp our feet. The way alone complete. The way is alone. This way alone is complete. So bars, cars, stop that junk. Because we're gonna deal with the Predicate Act now too. A Predicate Act is like mail crimes with this Leahy, Fred Gruse, New Britain Superior Court Federal Crime Acts and crime rolls with principal sex offender or more sex offenders with the policing intercampuses, identity theft crime rackets. Sequence shifting crime rackets using each age of fact treatment nature from off-campus influenced interbranch family kids to roles as victim predators, but as predators. And with passions dishonestly as sequence shifts roles, for adults from off-campus writing things they're pretending. We have experts on mental health that are recorded originally still with physical delusions, juxtaposed, criminally foreign influence, crime, and same thing with the various natures of courts tied to them, not by accident, tied to each age of fact treatment nature. Recorded criminally foreign influenced outcomes in cases. Recorded criminally foreign influenced treatments of the victims of that as innocent people and or as people who committed crimes, of course, because 99.9% of it, but not like they say, too. Then they attach to people who their own crime roles and others to narratives attached to everyone. They're recorded and confessed, attaching, like, pretending they're not supposed to speak medical information. Because these are a lot of doctors associated with the F.B.I. crimes. Drugs with the kids through time involved with the federal crimes with the databases. With the Predicate Acts, with judges forging and switching names, interbranch stacking crime acts, and offensive evidence crime roles with their campuses, police, various natures of police. But we don't usually have means to know about that. See, former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, recorded and confessed involved with election crimes, recorded manifest. Through the process, I recorded asking to report things and recorded them, forging names, switching names into branch, faking things into databases, torturing this way. Torturing, no. Stealing free speech, preventing free speech this way, no. Stealing this way, no. Fake news, pretending it's not fake news, no. Because then you don't even know what you're doing. And then you're invested to pretending you didn't realize that. Fox News, Fox WFSB, recorded and confessed with a Fienza family, with a Dillon family, with men and women interbranch on and off the state of Connecticut judicial branch offices, the houses next to it, criminally involved, with the principal sex offenders, with drugs with kids, with federal crimes, with male crime cover-ups, with fake news crime acts, also timed fake news crime acts, groups with placements of ads by companies with families involved with the child offenders and interbranch drug cliques involved with campuses with tied federal crime acts, attaching me to fake relationships to people from my town, conversations I never had with them, Trinity College's database. Those same cliques recorded with federal crimes on and off Trinity College and CCSU before I went there. Middlesex Community College, this is before I went there, were involved with federal crime acts. Then that are tied to the ones now reported that they're not that reported. Sandy Hook, Trade Newtown, where the shooting were of all those kids. Various natures of courts, drug clicks, doctors, and federal criminals with a prison in that town, and their doctors recorded with sex crime acts, federal crime acts with Facebook, and with the school, the principal sex offender, and his doctor before he was in the prison, before he was reportedly in the paper convicted this year. No, they prevented me from telling about sex crime acts worse than he was put in prison for and is being tortured by his doctor, because his doctor recorded worse sex crime acts rolls, even on Facebook. Before he knew me, before he saw me, which he still doesn't know me, he has physical delusions. Because they arrested me for harassment, for simply calling back a guy who made confessions, the principal sex offender when he was still with the campus, made confessions confirming his roles with Mike Levine and with other, like, two Mendez brothers. You know, and with courts that attached me and him and everyone to fake. They lied about the substance of our conversation. Wire crimes, mail crimes, after they were already interbranch, recorded and confessed with them by me. Also military, foreign and domestic, Whtey, on and off CCSU with the same interbranch military families from my town, criminally involved, and with overt criminal enterprises from Puerto Rico, various Italian gangs associated with, and Puerto Rican drug clicks with the Wethersfield Police Chief's extended family member, a Mazzucato, with two bakeries, Franklin Avenue, with the identity theft clicks with a Fred Gruse, a John Mayo, he's got brothers and his family recorded confessed about, with houses that have the police chief that has been for so many years, and one years ago, who was the police chief associated with that house directly, criminally. And, you know, and with Newington, stuff like that. In East Hartford. But these are also how we have various nations juxtaposed. So they're keeping us. They have needs to have naive value of the treatment of American history. So the New York game, the Burroughs book, we're taking over because they failed our nation's organized crime countering bodies to counter what they remain. They're preventing free speech. This is constitutional abridged, breaching screen, obfuscating it and furthering it. So we have these courts and they need to pretend they're against evil by contrast, by staying, people claimed other, by staying off their sequence shifts. This is also tied to their child abuse method, because that carries people needing to hide federal crimes as kids, influenced by interbranch families, private juxtaposed with that, needing to hide the same finite body of value and progressive lies. Identity theft lies, sequence shifting lies with overt criminal enterprises juxtaposed with our schools, not by accident. Fox CT completely recorded and confessed crime rolls with the Los Solitos, with the same Italian overt criminal enterprises associated with them, with wire crimes, fake news crime acts of juxtaposed natures, with the mail crimes clicks. Also as the ones with the proven sequence shift inside the Ninth Circuit Trade Center attack context. It was proven after. My father had hand-delivered papers to be time-stamped before the Ninth Circuit in Manhattan, before the Trade Center attack. Then that day, right before the attack, before the Ninth Circuit panel of judges, there were presented post-dated documents. And that was with federal criminals from my town and from neighboring towns. One of them with a daughter in my grade, involved with the federal criminals with the campuses through time. Interbranch families associated with all that, tied to training the next generations going into it, left criminally for an influence all natures of jobs of the law, identities of jobs of the law, identities of value progression, regardless. See, this is the fact treatment nature is per science that these are tactically ulterior from realities. We have physical delusions being propagated through psychology. We have free speech not let, mandated law for the sequence shifts. So each treatment in the news is tied. And they're dishonestly keeping opinions tactically, categorically, sequentially, and systemically misinformed, consciously misinformed, lied to, hurt. So we have theater that's valuing, the only time it's valuing pseudo-unity. Because then it can speak its theater because everyone's all together and they know it. The only reason they know it is because you're not following mandated law. You're not allowing proper information. And you have nutbags with our kids. Get this Leahy family from the kids. Get the Lombardo family from the kids. Get the Kerr family from the fire department with them. In the DeMauro family. Because these are also crimes with Trinity College and with CCSU directly, indirectly. Private police families of the schools. The companies that work with the private police. Involved with crime methods recorded from off-campuses maintaining on and off-campuses federal crime acts roles with databases, with passions, then with fact-treatment nature being coached because they're the ones trying to investigate the bad things that come later, before and with that, pretending not to realize. They're keeping the wrong outcomes in place. We have states attorneys generals involved with the predicate acts, involved criminally with the Me Too movement as a crime tool to pretend they don't realize that they're against mandated law, that they're pretending to value the FBI because, in other words, because they're doing it fake. They're using it as breaching cover-up rules. They're pretending that they value money because they're valuing a value nature system of lying, of science that is incapable of defending itself and of allowing free speech and simultaneously inherent active and progressive means. One-way regimes. Fix the fake news. And let's go, because you guys have emotional problems recorded. That's why we're going to talk about aggression, how aggression was never allowed free speech. It was never allowed integrity. And it's forced as sick natures insidiously, as fakes, forcing aggression. At the same time, misprision, multi-front, fake care natures, opinion natures in relationship to science jobs that are incapable of defending themselves and us at the same time. Fix the fake news crime acts with WFSB, with the Fianzas, and with the state judicial branch offices, with military, foreign, and domestic criminally involved, overt criminal enterprises, recorded criminally involved, recorded confessed. These are crime rolls with the body dumping spot of Billy Grasso, with people associated with the body dumping spot of a serial killer, real or made up. That guy's recorded and confessed, involved with the crimes, with the various natures of courts and judges, male and female, with crime acts roles, preventing and from being demonstrated, recorded child offenders that they forced. Then they forced him. Then they got caught for that. He got caught for that anyways. Anyway, the principal sex offender, and they use that to still to hide his doctors and those various natures of courts and campuses already criminally involved with him with crime acts. and nature's actually recorded. Wire crimes where they sequence shift too. They arrested me for harassment for. He called me for. I called him once time to report untimely deaths that brought up stuff. And the Wethersfield police were already with sex crime acts intercity with other natures of police, foreign and domestic, including military ones, like a Kolvinskis family, Justin Kolvinskis recorded, confessed, demonstrated his wife, Lucinda Kolvinskis. She recorded, confessed, and demonstrated also federal crime act roles with databases of identity theft clicks, interbranch, intercampuses through time, intercity. Since she was in high school. That's the only reason I only know her from brief moments too in life. So they're pretending that the numbers of names that they have using others criminally mean anything. They needing to have sequence shift because they have these prisons, the state prison offices, houses next to that too, criminally involved with the rackets, with the federal crime acts, with the state judicial branch office, and the houses next to that. Intercity through time, illusion stacking. That's Black's Law Dictionary. I don't need a gavel. I tell truths, not using facts as a weapon, attaching lies, pretending not to realize, not to exploit exception nature, which kids are, which elderly are. You think they were spoken for? We can't defend our kids, and we can't defend our elderly until we're allowed free speech correlation with the people stacking too. Tactically denatured relationship to nature. Let's go. Pretend that's prejudice. You see how the foreign families they come from other countries with flags. They're here or there. That's not prejudice. And that's never demonstrated. They're the same people forcing pseudo-unity because they need that, because they have intercultural, too many nations with too many natures of industries uncharged. And that's opinion natures that can only speculate through, not by accident, criminally foreign influenced, fact-cheating nature slavery systems. That's what this is. That's what these are. Sensibilities, criminally foreign influence, victim-predator reactions. So we need to admit that our value nature system is tactically denatured. Even the suburbs. That's a bottom that is unacceptable. So what do? We claim that. And we don't move until we get everything below that, at least above it. And we'll go up with it, because there's a tactically denatured relation. Try in the suburbs, to walk around with signs protesting. Why can't you do it? We don't have free speech. We don't have the right to. We don't have anything free. You can't fix mandated law. Let's go. We're going to address these nations with psychology like Russia and America. Also, that's being ducked behind by Fox CT and their crime acts roles with two Mendez police brothers, two Domain brothers, and with female police officers that pretended they knew me in the past. I never had a conversation with my life, and is involved with crimes with Thaddeus Grabowski, and with a corner of Fox CT in that parking garage is criminally involved. People associated with them through time, with sexual circles, involved with crimes with the various natures of courts and their family members and extended family members criminally involved. With Two-Route Highway where it runs into Hangdog Lane and the Burlington Turnpike before the heart of Hartford. That's also with the Phil Claw, also with the Fiennes family, also with Sal Civiello, recorded and confessed, involved crimes with various natures of CIA, F.B.I., and their drug cliques, and their roles with sexual circles, and like police forums on and off campuses, CCSU, many from my town, criminally involved, federal crime acts, Trinity College, federal crime. I don't even know them. They only know me per their roles and narratives that with investigators recorded through time, attaching strangers to pretended locations, pretended sequence, pretended relationships to each other, coercing little kids to pretend things like to cover their live progressions, to hide their actually recorded natures. So we have a bad problem with cases moving forward. This is a sick justice system. All we need is recorded for evolution, and it shows that and how we have systemic database crimes. We have systemic relationship to the identity of ground, which has one. And this is not being allowed, demonstrated, because not only free speech is not left, is not prevented, identity thefts aren't let countered because there are other natures of it. Motivations and roles for that, even with the people involved with countering identity thefts. Because that motivates them as standing needs to, to justify and value treatments of identity thefts when there are other natures of it. We think that is black and white. It's an identity theft of our founders, of our American history, stolen, enslaved to a criminal seditious nature, positive narrative. Nature. We have sensibilities and opinions, delusions wrought into sciences, pseudosciences. Now let's go. We have to fight with opinions. I don't know, you guys. Fix the fake news. Stop starting fights. And stay on the crime acts and sequence shifts and federal crime acts. Let's go. We have Facebook used for sex crime acts. Interbranch. Let's go. That's recorded. It's in the news, crime acts. These are crime acts and cases. We have physical delusions, sick natures, talking about president. Maybe they're trying to scare people, but they're doing it dishonestly. They're not caring about recidivism. These are sick natures. Let's go. BC, Boston College. Do you know Fred Gruse? This person, I recorded him. My high school, so he didn't even go to my high school. Then after they graduated high school, Rick Sheffield, I had nothing to do with him the time we was in high school. Recorded and confessed involved with the natures of federal crime acts with him and with men and women when the Britain Superior Court with drug crimes and crimes with child sex offenders proven, and further with the schools forced. The youngest kids, no, because this is tied to them also recorded and confessed involved with passions faking that used to pretend they had a conversation before that, tied to them doing that into databases and exploiting that because they're sustaining people with roles for that each year. So, and then that is to exploit what used Trinity College, like a Zeno family also has cousins of a Paul Zeno and stuff that live closer to the high school of Wethersfield, but in the town over. And this kid went to my school. I don't think I never had a class with him, Paul Zeno, and his friends. And then he had roles with my neighbor, with the interbranch private tied to them, criminally involved. WFSB, businesses next to them, criminally involved with their federal crime acts, fake news, with the principal sex offender, with more intercity. See, because this is how they have doctors of psychology and police who are men and women criminally involved, and with military. See, we have foreign and domestic, so many hundreds of nations shared. They need to think. They need to pretend that England was the only ones. Where England was the only one with the colonization of Boston, of New York, of Harvard. They need to have people who aren't being able to talk, because what's being glorified as education is sick. The cause, the buzz. Get out!